To finish off our steakhouse menu, we're going to make a very classic cheesecake. We love to make cheesecakes in the restaurant industry because they are a blank canvas to flavor a million different ways, and they are a definite do-ahead, which is why we love them. You can't just make a cheesecake, take it out of the oven, and serve it at dinner. So we like to make it the day before. So in my stand mixer, I have some cream cheese. This is definitely got to be room temperature. Not just leave it out for an hour or so, we mean leave it out overnight. If you don't, you're going to have a very lumpy cheesecake. So I have that in my stand mixer, and I'm going to let that sort of mix together so gets as much lumps out as we can. And we're not going to go too fast on the stand mixer because we don't want to incorporate air. Air will cause the cheesecake to rise, which can sometimes make the top of it burn, and it can also help in cracking. So then we're going to add in our sugar. We're going to let that mix in. And then we're going to add in our eggs, also room temperature. Eggs are very easy to make room temperature, you just leave them out overnight. We're going to use some vanilla paste. We love vanilla paste in our cheesecakes because we can see all of those wonderful little seeds from the vanilla pod. And we love it. I'm going to add some lemon zest just to cut through some of that rich cream cheese flavor. It's going to add a nice brightness and a little bit of acidity. And don't forget a pinch of salt. Even though this is a dessert and a sweet thing, we always like to add a little pinch of salt. It's going to help bring out all of those wonderful flavors. So we're going to mix this together, and once it's fully incorporated, and I've scraped down the sides of the bowl, then we're going to pour it into our prepared crust. So our cheesecake batter has been mixing for 2 to 3 minutes, just until it looks like everything is incorporated. Again, you don't want to mix for too long because you don't want to incorporate any air. So now, we'll take it off of our stand mixer, and this is the point where I like to add a bunch of different flavorings, or add-ins as I like to call them, and I mentioned in the recipe packet. I've added in some melted and cooled chocolate. I've added in some creamy peanut butter, and then topped it with a ganache. I folded in some pumpkin pie spice. I folded in a number of different things, or I can just bake it just like this, and then I top it with some cinnamon sugar apples. Anything. This is a blank canvas. So I'm going to pour this into the crust that Chef Mar made. Definitely make sure that this is cooled. If it is still just hot out of the oven, it can actually start to cook the bottom of the cheesecake and the eggs, and we don't want that. So I'm going to pour this into my pan. Make sure you get all of it in there. Waste not, want not. Then we're going to smooth out the top. If you have any sort of peaks or higher points in the batter, they can tend to burn or brown in your oven. I like to give it a little shake just to kind of help it to flatten out, and I like to pick it up just slightly and drop it, kind of like we did with our brownies, but this will allow any of the air bubbles that are on the top of the surface or trapped down inside your batter, that will help them to rise to the surface so you can pop them, because as they cook, they will start to expand and they can pop. So I'm actually going to pop a few right here that are on the surface, and you'll see them. And make sure they get shaken back into the nice flat surface. Now we are going to cook this in what we call a water bath or bain-marie. So we are going to put this, that I've lined the pan with foil on the outside so water doesn't come in, and then I'm going to put it into a roasting pan, something that is a good amount larger than your cheesecake pan or your springform pan, and then I'm going to take this without water to the oven. So we are about to put our cheesecake in the oven. It is in the roasting pan, and I always like to keep it out just a little bit. If you have a rack that comes out, even better. And now we are going to pour the water into our pan around the cheesecake. We want it to come about halfway up the side of the cheesecake pan, but if you were to fill this pan back over on the counter and tried to carry it to your oven, you're going to slosh it all over the place and make a mess. Trust us, we've tried it. And then we're going to pour in water. You can boil water from a kettle or just use the hot water out of your tap. Then we're going to slide it back in there. And we're going to cook it for about 40 minutes to an hour until the edges are set and the center jiggles slightly, which we'll show you later. So our cheesecake has been cooking for about an hour, and I just wanted to show you, to get a little brown on the top, it's not the end of the world. We're going to top it with a wonderful, delicious cherry sauce. But I just want to show you, when we jiggle the pan, the cheesecake is just slightly moving in the center. That's fine. The edges are set. We'll continue to cook as it cools. One trick I like to show is, once I take this out, just the cheesecake, leave the pan in the oven, I'm going to take the cheesecake out, I'm going to take a paring knife, and I'm going to go around the edges of the springform pan. That's going to help to release the top of the cheesecake from the pan, so as it cools and contracts, it won't be pulling against the side of the pan, which can sometimes lead to cracks.